Alrighty. I am here, you guys. I was trying to get everything set up to go. I was having some technical difficulties. Just give me 1 second. Let me add one more thing so I get some more light. Because, yeah, this isn't going. Okay, alrighty. So I am back. I want to say thank you for joining me if you're watching this live. Let me just get my notes here that I had scheduled throughout the day, or written down throughout the day. So I wanted to come on here this evening to talk about collection agencies. And again, welcome to anyone joining me this evening. I know you don't have to. It's going into a holiday week. So again, thank you for joining me on this live. So this evening, we are going to talk about collection agencies, pretty much what you need to know and how to deal with them. And when they call, if you get a letter from them, pretty much anything in relation to collection agencies and how to deal with them. So you may first ask, like, what is a collection agency? And basically, a collection agency is a company that collects debt. It's a third-party collector, and they collect charged off debt from the original creditor. So let's say if you have a credit card and you stop making payments on it for like 180 days or 6 months back to back, that original creditor, that credit card company, will then write off the debt. And if they cannot collect the debt, they will usually just write it off and sell it to a collection agency. And then what the collection agency will do then is contact you to see if they can collect the debt, the money's owed. Now, collection agencies get a lot of flack, and deservedly so, because a lot of companies, while there are some good ones out there, they follow the law. And they do what they're supposed to do in their collection efforts. There are a lot more unscrupulous collection agencies that bend and break the law to get money. And yeah, they will go to the ends of the earth, some of these companies, to get their money. So, or get the money that they say that you owe. So what is the process of, let me move back a little bit, of, how they obtain these debts? Okay. So a collection agency, basically what they do is, like I said, the original creditor, once they've written off a debt that has not been paid on for like 180 days, they will consider that debt uncollectible debt, and they just sell it to the third party, which is the collection agency. And so then what the collection agency do, from what I've been reading, they actually buy all of that written off debt in batches. I'm talking about the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars in uncollectible debt from the original creditor. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say an auction, but it's basically like hey, we have this $1 million batch worth of accounts from XYZ credit company or credit card company, and we're going to sell it to you for $10,000. Yes, they do buy those debts for like pennies on the dollar. So they, all the accounts might total to say $1 million, but the collection agency will buy that debt for like pennies. Like, I'm saying $10,000. This might be an exaggeration, but it's literally like pennies on the dollar. But what they do, they will try to collect the full amount from you, in hopes to recoup the money. Now, sometimes the original creditor will contract with the collection agency. Some of them are kind of funny. They try to get around like the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and we'll go into that a little bit further in this conversation. But what I've noticed when I fixed my credit the second time around, it was a credit card company that I knew they had contracted out with a third-party collector. So it was kind of like in-house, but not quite. I'll go into it later, but it's a way that these credit card companies will circumvent their Fair Debt Collection Practices Act to keep from having to avoid that law, but they will still harass you, call you, send you multiple letters in hopes for you to pay that debt. But like I said, we'll go into that later. And so, a lot of these collection agencies, when they form and try to collect debt from you, they have multiple ways in which they can contact you or will contact you. The law says that the hours that they can call, this is per the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, is between, I believe it's 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. So if they're calling you at like 6 in the morning, or they're calling you like at 10:30 at night, yeah, they're breaking the law, okay? Because the law does limit the time that they can call you. Also, some of the other parts of the law, they can't misrepresent themselves. If you ever gotten a collection call, they'll say this is a private business matter, which is fine. But if they say, well, we're calling from XYZ police department or sheriff department, or if they threaten to send you to jail, that is against the law. Okay. And there are a lot of collection agencies that will do that, especially the unscrupulous ones, the ones that are very ruthless and will harass you and or your family members in your job. The law does allow them to call your job, but you can send them a letter, which is called a cease and desist letter. I'm sorry, I have these braces, so work with me because they have me talking pretty lispy. A cease and desist letter is a letter that you can send to the collection agencies to basically say, look, stop calling me. Okay, do not call any phone numbers that you think is associated with me or any third parties that you think are associated with me. And that's per the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Once they get that letter, they're supposed to remove your phone number and just contact you by mail. Okay, that's a good way to get them to stop calling, because I know I'm not the only one that had them calling like, multiple times a day, every day. Okay. And I always tell my clients, like, don't avoid collection calls. Answer them. You don't have to verify all of your information. You can just say, if they call and say, hey, can I speak to Susie Smith? Yes, this is Susie Smith. How can I help you? If they call you and say, hey, we need to verify your, social security number, date of birth, and address, no. Okay. Especially we're in the age of the scammer. Absolutely no. Okay. Because there are too many scammers calling, trying to get your information, and it's just common sense and best practice not to verify any other information except for your name. Okay. What I do tell my clients, if they do have collection agencies call, is to just verify your name. And if they ask for additional information, tell them to send whatever information that they have via mail. Okay. Because they're supposed to actually send something in the mail from that first phone call that you get from them. They're actually by law supposed to send something in the mail to you within 5 days of that call. Okay. Once they send something, if they're a legitimate collection agency and they're following the law, once they send you that letter, it'll tell you, like, on the letter, this is an attempt to collect the debt. Any information we obtain will be used against you. I mean, that they have to put that script on each correspondence that they send to you. But when you get that letter from them, you can send them a letter in response to that. And we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay. Now, kind of jumping back a little bit, when you get that initial call and they're calling you, trying to get your information, and you're trying to find out, hey, what is this debt about? Again, you're protected by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You have a right to know, like, why are you calling me? Okay, because again, we're in the age of the scammers. Anybody could be calling, and it's just best practice. Hey, excuse me. It's just best practice to just verify with them, like, they are who they say they are. Because again, there's a lot of people calling, fishing for information. That's how a lot of people get scammed, because they just freely give their information without verifying. So you always want to, find out as much information from them. Say, hey, when they call and say, hey, we're calling about a private business matter. This call is being recorded. Okay, that's fine. But if they're asking you for your social security number, date of birth, all of your private information that's not easily obtained, and I tell anybody this, not just my clients, don't freely give your personal information over the phone, okay? Because anybody can say they're a collection agency, and next thing you know, you've given your information and you've gotten scammed. Now you have an identity theft case. So make it a best practice to request information. If they call and say, hey, we're XYZ collection agency, or we're calling about a private business matter, can we speak to Susie Smith or whatever? Can we get your social security number and date of birth? Make it best practice to just verify your name, and then just ask them to send whatever information they have through the mail, and you will go from there. Okay. Now, some collection agencies will get belligerent on the phone. Well, just give me that. What? When you have those kinds of calls, there is a way to track them down. Okay, just like they skip trace us, and skip tracing is basically searching information on the internet to find out who you are, and to verify that you are who you say you are. But you can also skip trace these collection agencies. And what I also tell my clients too, you can look up to see if a collection agency is even licensed and registered in your state, because a lot of states require a collection agency to be registered as a business in the state to be able to collect. Okay, so that's a way to make them go away. Okay, just to see if they're able to, because they don't care. A lot of them don't care. How they talk to you on the phone, and let me also say this, and I know I'm not the only one who has gotten these kinds of calls when they call you and they're belligerent over the phone. Excuse me, y'all. And they're real nasty and rude, and oh, well, why can't you pay your bills? And yeah, I'm not the person to call and talk to like that. Anybody who knows me that's watching can tell you this. I am not the person to call and talk to crazy, okay? Like they say, talk to me nice and we can go from there, okay? But if you call me crazy, you gonna get some crazy back, okay? But anyway, so if a collection agency calls you and they're belligerent over the phone, and they're breaking all kinds of laws, threatening to, have you put in jail, threatening to do all this other stuff, and you don't even know who it is on the other line, and you feel intimidated and threatening. Now, in that case, I would hang up and just search the number, okay? Because they are supposed to identify who they are. But just know that they can't call and break all kinds of laws and be intimidating, because that's what they're trained to do. They are trained to keep you on the phone for that first minute they keep you on the phone. They're supposed to get as much information from you as possible, okay? But if you know your rights, as I said in the last live, I want my clients and anyone watching this to be an informed consumer. When you know your rights and read the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, when you know your rights, you're not going to let them talk to you crazy, okay? And they know that. I've had collection agencies call me, and, when I'm spewing off, don't call me anymore per the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, Section 805, cease communication. I'm going to send you something in the mail, certified and return receipt. Then I don't receive those phone calls anymore, okay? When you know the law and you're armed with the law and you know your rights, yeah, they know not to call and play on your phone, okay? But most consumers don't know the law, and they bank on that, and they bank on you not only verifying the debt over the phone, but also setting up payment. And I tell my clients, don't set up payments over the phone with these collection agencies. Because again, when I said in the beginning of the live, they buy these debts for pennies on the dollar. So if you had a $500 debt, they may have paid like $4 for that account. Okay. And number two, you didn't do business with that collection agency. And that's what I always ask them too, like, who are you? I don't remember doing business with you. Okay. And you have a right, especially for medical debt. And I did post some videos last year about medical debt, because a lot of people do get collection accounts from medical debt. That copay that your doctor didn't charge you when you went to go see them. The law changed regarding your medical debt, because a lot of collection agencies were trying to collect on medical debt. And what I found, the law is kind of blurry, and I'm kind of going off on an aside for this, but the law could get kind of blurry as far as like what personal health information that some of these so-called HIPAA certified collection agencies can have. And I would tell you this, okay? I don't care how HIPAA certified a collection agency is. I'm going to tell you this, and this is somebody that is a health care provider, okay? Like an active current health care provider. Be very careful, okay, verifying to a collection agency that is collecting on medical debt, okay? The reason why I say that is because a doctor's office will often just send your entire packet to the collection agency, okay? Some of that information, I'm not saying all the time, some of that information can have your private health information on there, okay? I know that because there are certain codes that you can look up that correspond to what your diagnosis or what the visit was for, okay? And I've had clients send me their letters from collection agencies for medical debt, and it had like the billing code, okay? It had the procedure code, which are two codes. When I looked them up, I know exactly what the client went to the hospital for, okay? No company should have that information unless you release that information to them. And that's a whole other live, okay? And I've had debates with people about this as far as like what information can a collection agency have, what can you verify with them, and what can you dispute regarding not just the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, but HIPAA as well, okay? Because HIPAA does protect your health information, okay? And again, the line is kind of blurry as far as like who can have access to it. Okay, so that's an aside. You know, like when you're going to the doctor's office, look at those forms carefully, okay? Because a lot of times their financial policy will include that they will share your information with third-party companies, to include collection agencies, and they can share that information. And oftentimes that information will contain your health information. So that's just the FYI, okay? All right, so jumping back into the lane of just collection agencies. Again, the regulation over collection agencies, the main law is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Like, go read that act, okay? It's a ton of information, but I beg any of you watching this, or if you're going to rewatch it, to go and read that law, because that is the law that you can use to protect yourself when you are communicating with collection agencies. Okay, so that, and then there's also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is like part of like the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is fairly new. I think it was formed in like 2011. But they are like the complaint bureau. It's like collection agency doesn't want to stop their collection efforts, even though they can't really collect on the debt. You can send a complaint to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, okay? And another good resource, okay, I've done this with my state's attorneys general, is the attorney general. I gave it away. Your state's attorney's general office is also a good resource to file a complaint when you are having issues with the collection agency, whether it's breaking the law, if they can't verify a debt, if they can't validate a debt, but they're still harassing you. Your state's attorney general is another good resource. Another good resource is the Better Business Bureau. A lot of these collection agencies already have like very low rating, F ratings, D ratings. But they're a good resource to have, if you're trying to look for resolution regarding a collection account. Now, going back to medical debt, also, you can get that medical debt sent back to your doctor's office, especially if it's like $60. A lot of times people's copay is like $50 or $60, and they'll, like, why are you going so hard for $60? You only paid probably like 3 cents for it. But anyway, so for instances like that, if you want to handle your medical debt with the healthcare provider, you can ask them to recall that debt and send it back to your doctor. A lot of people don't know that. I've had that happen because a lot of times, again, you go to the doctor and, you sign in and they'll scan your insurance card or they'll look at your insurance card that's already on file, and they don't even tell you that there's a copay until, now you get a letter and say your $60 bill is like, 90 days late. And it's like, well, I was at the office. Why didn't you tell me? But anyway, but again, going back to those videos, it was 3 videos that I posted last year regarding the changes to how medical debt is collected. Because what was happening is a lot of people's credit scores and their credit was getting messed up behind, medical collections. And I always tell people your medical debt is not a determining factor of your creditworthiness, okay? Because medical billing is very different from like credit card or loan billing. It's very different, okay? Because you're dealing with insurance companies. They're sending paperwork back and forth. The healthcare provider is sending the billing to the insurance. I mean, it's a bunch of paperwork that's going back and forth, and then the final payment. That's not like a credit card payment where, you charge something in 2 or 3 days, it posts. No, medical billing, the whole process takes time. Okay. And a lot of people, this is like a big pet peeve of mine too. Hopefully some laws will change. There is no transparency as far as, the billing of what some of these hospitals will bill you for your visit. There is no no pricing standard for healthcare. So you're kind of like at the mercy of the healthcare provider and the insurance, as far as like, oh, surprise, your bill is this. Okay, so like medical debt is like the only debt where you don't even know what the cost is going to be at the end. Okay, because the insurance companies, the healthcare insurance companies, a lot of people don't know this either. Your healthcare provider can bill one thing, and your insurance company is going to pay one thing. And then whatever's left over, you are responsible for, but you're only responsible for just a little piece of that. Okay. And then everything else, the hospital or their healthcare provider has to write it off. Okay. So I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole complicated process. I'm not a medical billing expert, but again, as a healthcare provider who does bill, I do have like basic knowledge of it. So again, medical debt is like the only debt where you don't know what it's going to be until you actually get a bill for it. Okay. It's like, whoa, but anyway, so back to collection agencies. I kind of got off. Now I've had clients ask me, and let me preface this and say, I'm not an attorney. Okay. So please consult with a legal professional regarding this matter. Again, I am not an attorney and I am not pretending to be one. I am telling you what I do and what I have done according to my state's law. Okay. Again, I am not an attorney, but I am just telling you what I've had questions from my client. So when a collection agency calls you, and they'll say this call is being recorded for quality assurance, Okay. Now, I know for myself, I have recorded collection agencies. I've recorded them on behalf of my clients, and I have posted some of those recordings for you to hear as well. You can look on my Instagram or my Facebook. And you can see like how rude some of these collection agencies are. Like, I had to keep it cute on one of the calls because I was calling on my client's behalf because I wanted them to hear. Okay. But I have recorded collection agencies for myself. And I had one instance, it's only been like twice where I had it like escalated. One was with the Store Express. This was 20 something years ago. They were calling me to collect on a bill. It was only like $300. Okay. And the lady called and left a message on my answering machine. Okay. Yes, I know an answering machine is a dinosaur these days, but that was the best thing she could have done. So they kept calling, and when I played the message, she threatened to have me put in jail for not paying that debt. That is against the law. Okay. That is against the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You cannot threaten to put anybody in jail behind a debt, especially a $300 some debt. Well, this was like right around the time I got serious about credit and started fixing my credit the first time. And so I had the recording, and I started researching about the credit laws and so forth. And the next time they called, I had asked to speak to a manager. I was a Karen before it was a thing. And I told them, I said, I looked up the law, and I know the law says that you cannot do this. One of your agents threatened to have me put in jail behind this debt. And I played that call for her. When I tell you that lady put me on hold and came back so fast, And I told her, I said, I know I have a right to sue you based on this call. I said, but this is what I will do in the spirit of compromise. I will pay this debt. I said, but I'm only paying you $75. You're going to have to figure out what to do with the rest of the money because I'm not giving it to you. She agreed. And I said, I will overnight this $75 to you. And I said, once you receive this money, this negative account better come off my credit report. Within 30 days, let me tell y'all, I ain't never seen an account come off my credit report so fast. Okay. I knew then that the power of knowing your rights. And like I said, this was like 20 something years ago. I was in my 20s then. I ain't gonna say how old I am now. But anyway, I was in my 20s then. Okay. And when that account came off, okay, I knew then that, wow, okay, these people knew they broke the law. And I probably should have sued them. I didn't care. I was trying to fix my credit. So I was just get this account off my credit report. And that empowered me to do more research. That empowered me I started writing letters, and y'all, that started me writing my guide. Like, I have a guide now that I'm revising. It's about finished. That's like 20 years worth of information. Okay. That empowered me, like, wow. I was like, okay, these people knew they were wrong. And I'm going to give y'all $75, and whatever you do with the rest of the money, that's y'all's business. But I'm not giving it to you. Okay. And so again, when you are an informed consumer and you know your rights, that kind of stuff happens. Okay. They know they can't play with you. Okay. And I went back, I made a post maybe last week or something. I started writing these letters and saving them to the floppy disk. Okay. I've since transferred them, but y'all, that's what empowered me to get serious about credit, because I knew the power of credit. I knew the power of knowing your rights. I knew the power of knowing what they can and can't do. Okay, so alrighty, so recording them. Okay, now I'm not an attorney, so go ask an attorney or a legal professional if it's within the law, the confines of the law for you to record. I know in my state, if you want to look up the law as far as recording, it actually falls under the wire tapping laws. Okay. My state is the law is actually verbatim, like word for word, the federal law, which says that as long as I am a party to the call, I can record. I don't have to notify the other person on the line. But just for my sake, I do say, look, I'm recording this call too. Okay. A lot of collection agency reps, that they don't care, but if they know they're about to say or do something stupid, they'll be like, no, okay, all right, I'm gonna disconnect the call. Okay, no problem. But if your state is a two-party state, which means both parties must consent to be recorded before you can record the call, then again, I would speak to an attorney about that to see what the legalities are about that. I'm just telling you what I do. Okay. You need to consult with a legal professional before you start recording people. Okay. Because there are legal implications to recording people without their permission. So I'm just letting you know that. Okay. But I'm just telling you, it can be done. Just make sure that you know the law. Again, it's part of being an informed consumer. Don't just be going out doing stuff, and don't say I said do it. Okay, because I've said it multiple times. I'm not an attorney. I'm just telling you what I do. Okay, so look up the wiretapping laws in your state to see what you can and cannot do as far as recording the call that you are on, that you are a party to. Again, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal information. I'm telling you what I do. I have to say that, emphasize that, okay? And I've had somebody ask me, like, well, what if I don't owe the debt? Well, if you don't owe the debt, and they're still calling you, asking you about the debt, you have a right to contest or dispute that debt, okay? Because again, a lot of times you don't owe the debt, okay? They will collect on old debts. They will collect on debts that may have already been paid and it was an accounting error. So in that case, still send a letter, like, validate this debt for me. Tell me, prove to me that I owe you money. Because you're not just going to send money to someone that you don't know, right? Just like you're not going to share your personal information to someone that you don't know, okay? That's just calling on the phone, okay? So if you know that you don't owe the debt, or you've already paid it and you have proof that you've paid the debt, send them the debt validation letter. Make them prove to you first that you owe the money, okay, or owe the money, okay. Also, another key piece of information, a lot of people have asked me about, well, how long can they collect on the debt? Okay, so a collection account can stay on your credit report for 7 years, okay, or from the date of first delinquency, okay. So the date of first delinquency is basically the date that the account, like, first went delinquent or charged off, okay. So let's say your date of first delinquency was January 1st, 2023. You haven't made a payment since then, okay. And they've charged it off. The companies charge it off, send it to collection agency, okay. That date of first delinquency is January 1st, 2023, okay. All right. And so they're going, if you don't have no plans to pay it, they're going to keep collecting on that debt until 2030. Okay. Now, what you can still do, January 1st, 2030. But there is also a time limit in which a collection agency can sue you. Okay. Because let me tell y'all something. There's some collection agencies out here that are very sue happy. They're very litigious. Okay. They will sue the pants off of you. Okay. And then they're going to turn around and try to garnish your check. Okay. And we're going to get into that in a minute. So yeah, 7 years, from the date of first delinquency. Okay. So a lot of times what companies will do, they would charge your debt off and they would just kind of sit on their debt before they, send it to a collection agency. So they'll sit on their debt for a year, okay, before they even sell it to a collection agency. Or sometimes those accounts will get bounced, back and forth to different collection agencies, maybe because XYZ collection agency couldn't collect. And so they sell that debt to ABC collection agency. ABC collection agency couldn't collect. So a lot of times within that 7 years, that debt will get passed. Okay. And every time that debt gets sold and resold, less and less of your information is passed on, to the point where they'll have your name wrong, they'll have an old address, they'll have an old phone number, your social security number might be wrong, or they may not have it all together. A whole bunch of misinformation or wrong information, okay? So that is why it's important to always make sure that you send them a letter, making sure that you owe that debt, okay? So that kind of goes into now, collecting on an old debt. I've had clients where I've looked at their credit report and, they're saying they're getting phone calls from like AT&T from like 2003. Okay. 7 years, y'all. You only get 7 years. Okay. And the time to sue is even less than that. Okay, you get certain states are longer. Some states, I think, is like 15 years. Okay, as far as the time frame they can sue you, and how long the account stay on your credit report. And then some states are like 2 years is all you're getting. I know from my state, Virginia, I think it's like 5 years. They have to sue you. Okay, and they'll put that on the letter. Okay, once they can no longer sue you, that 5 years, sometimes they'll stop collecting altogether because they know it's like pointless to even try to continue collection, to continue their collection efforts. Now, I'm just saying, I mean, once it gets to that point, I'm not saying not to pay, and I'm not saying to pay. I do what you feel is on your heart. I mean, if you want to just kind of get it off your conscience to just pay all of your debts, especially if you're in a financial position to do so, by all means. I can't tell you either way. You know, you're grown, so I can't tell you to or not to, but it's what you feel is best for you and your financial situation. But yeah, as far as some of these collection agencies that will sue, I'm going to tell y'all some of the 2 very sue-happy collection agencies that you will see in pretty much every civil courtroom in America is Midland Funding and LVNV. Okay, especially if it's for large amounts. When I see those 2 collection agencies on my credit report, on my client's credit reports, yeah, we about to send out these debt validations in quick. Okay, now I will say this though, sometimes those debt validation letters, especially if it's for large amounts, they can trigger a lawsuit. Okay, and don't avoid those letters that you get from them, especially those 2 collection agencies, because like y'all, they have like their attorneys will spend like all morning in those civil courtrooms, just a long line of debtors, and the judge asking them, do you recall this debt? Do you owe this debt? Like, go to court. I'm telling you, like, if you get a letter or the mail from the sheriff, the mailing saying that you need to go to court behind one of those debts, you need to go. Okay? Because if you don't, they're going to get a default judgment. Okay? And let me tell you, when you get a default judgment, they're going to go hard. It's a wrap after that. If you get a judgment against you from a collection agency, if you think they're ruthless, before before you go to court and they get a judgment, if you think they're rude and ruthless, let them get a judgment against you. And when I tell you they're gonna come for blood, okay, they go for blood. They gonna find you, and they are going to get that money. Okay, so it is best for especially Midland Funding and LVNV to, if they are able to validate the debt and prove that you owe the debt. I will say this, in some cases with collection agencies, it might be a good thing to go ahead and pay. Now, I don't pay collection agencies. Personally, I don't. Okay, because I'm like, I don't do business with you. I don't have a contract with you. You can't prove anything. And I have yet to have a collection agency prove to me that I owe the debt. And I tell them, okay, well, if you feel I do, sue me. Sue me. Now, I know that sounds arrogant, but again, I've been doing this long enough. I know my rights. Okay. But if you are, if you get taken to court, I would highly suggest that you seek an attorney. Okay. Because I'm not one and I can't give you legal advice. I'm only telling you from my perspective and what I have gone through. It's happened once. This was like years ago. And I went to court. They couldn't prove that I owed the debt, and the judge threw the case out. But I knew my rights, and I had like all my paperwork to back up everything to prove that I didn't know. I actually didn't remember the debt. So, and I think it was like time barred. Time barred, we'll go into that later. Time barred means it's way past the time for them to collect. It was an old debt. So, okay. All right. Another thing I wanted to discuss, some of these collection agencies, all they do is buy junk debt. I haven't really heard anyone talk about junk debt. So junk debt is a little bit different. Okay, junk debt is still like a collection account. It usually is like really old debt. Okay, like I said, that debt from 2003. And it just keeps getting sold and resold and resold and resold. That's what's called a junk debt buyer. Okay, they just collection agency that just keeps buying all these old debts that you can't collect money on. They can't sue you. It's just sitting there. Okay, that money has been written off by the original creditor. Okay, they've got the original creditor. Once they write your debt off, they're gonna recoup their losses through the IRS. Okay, so if you haven't made a credit card payment within 6 months and they charge it off, once it gets charged off, that is an accounting line item. Okay, they bite that debt off as a loss. Okay, so that original creditor, credit card company, loan company, once they charge that off, they're going to recoup their loss. Okay, so once they write it off and send it to a collection agency, it's kind of like out there in the wind. It's just like good luck collecting on it. Okay, so a junk debt buyer tries to collect on all these old debts. They're just kind of sitting out there in limbo, in debt purgatory. Nobody knows what to do with it. Was this ever paid on? We don't know. So that's what a junk debt buyer. I personally, I'm not paying on the old debts. If you didn't have luck getting the money out of me when I was in my 20s, good luck now. Get somebody else to do it, because but again, if it's a fairly new debt, like within 5 or 6 years, yeah, and they can prove that you owe them money, they have all the documentation to back it up, and they threaten to sue, yeah, it might be a good idea to consult with an attorney, and learn what your rights are so that they don't seek a default judgment against you, because once they seek a default judgment against you, then they're going to garnish your check. And I have had quite a few clients who have had their checks garnished because they didn't go to court. They didn't take it serious, unfortunately. And a lot of people don't take it serious until their check is garnished. And that, I think it's like 25% of your check. So yeah, it would behoove you to go to court, even if it's just a full continuance. And again, I'm not an attorney. Consult with an attorney for more information about, collection if you get sued by a collection agency. Okay. Now I've had some clients ask me like, well, how do they find me? I've moved states. We're in the age of the internet. Okay. If you're on social media, they're going to find you. And the other thing, what I've noticed, they're texting you now. The law has allowed them to text you and email you. Okay. This is one of the things I had to revoke. I had to stop putting my email address, especially for like the healthcare providers. When they were like, oh, do you want to share your email address? No. Because y'all be giving this information to these collection agencies, and then they're calling me about a $60 copay that you should have just charged me when I was there at the doctor's office. So I had to, at the beginning of the year, when you go to the doctor's office and update all of your information, I took off my email address. Because they will spam your email. And if you respond via email, that is a way to verify that, okay, this is this person that we're trying to contact. And then they start their collection efforts that way. So you have to be very careful how you respond also to a collection agency, because you don't want to give them information to verify that it's you. So again, that's why they say this call is being recorded for quality assurance. They do that because if they have to take you to court, anything you say will be used against you. If they have to take you to court, they'll take that recording and say, Your Honor, this person verified that this was them. Okay, so you have to be very careful when you're giving your information. Okay, so yeah, just you have to know that information when you're talking to them. Okay. And also, I want to go a little bit more into what their Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is. I'm going to go back to that. Again, the collection agencies cannot misrepresent themselves. Okay, they must identify themselves. Even if once you verify your name, they must say, hey, I'm Susie Smith from XYZ Collection Agency. We would like to discuss with you about this debt. They must identify themselves. They can't just say, well, can you verify your information? I don't know you. And I always tell my clients and anyone, most companies, most reputable, legitimate companies and government agencies especially, even though I know a collection agency is not a government company, but most reputable, legitimate companies are going to send you a letter. Okay? The IRS is not going to call you. Social Security is not going to call you. Even these big companies, these big corporations are not going to call you. Amazon is not going to call you. Microsoft is not going to call you. Google is not going to call you. So you have to be careful in the information age, especially about what information you give people over the phone. Okay. Always research. Do a skip trace on a number. Okay. A lot of times when you see these collection agencies numbers, do a Google search or get somebody to look up the number for you. Okay. Excuse me. And you'll see the numbers pop up and multiple people saying, oh, this is from this collection agency collecting for XYZ company. Okay. And so a collection agency, when it comes to your credit report, okay, collection agency reporting usually has the largest number of errors on the credit report. The name is wrong, the account status is wrong, the amounts are wrong, the dates are wrong. A collection agency can't post that an account is past due because it's a collection account. But that is like a very common error that I see on credit reports, that a collection account is past due. That is worthy to be disputed because it's inaccurate. Okay, a collection account cannot be posted as past due. Okay. So again, account status, amount, name, the dates, all of those you need to look for if you're in the process of repairing your credit. Those are the errors or the inaccuracies that you need to be looking for when you are disputing a collection account. Okay, and so you can dispute it with the collection agency, dispute or validate the debt with the collection agency. Say, hey, prove to me that you owe the debt. And then with the credit bureaus or the credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and Inovis, you can dispute with them and say, hey, this collection agency is not reporting this account correctly. You need to take it off my credit report. Okay. So you can dispute on two different ways. Okay. Again, the two most common types of debt that you will see on your credit report is credit card debt and medical debt. Okay. And again, I have to emphasize, go back to those 3 videos about medical collections and the changes that took place as far as medical collections and how they can now positively impact your credit report. Okay. Because a lot of people were getting denied for purchases or for loans or credit cards because of medical debt. So the law has changed to the benefit of the consumer because of that law. And so I'll repost those videos after this live is over. Okay. And again, a collection account can drop your score. Like one collection account can drop your credit score by like 100 points. Okay. So I tell people, check your credit report like you check your bank account. Okay. Check it every day. You need to be checking your credit like you check your bank account. Okay. Because those small changes, a new collection account can affect not just your ability to get new credit, but it can cause your interest rates to go up. It can cause your current creditors to close your current account. You can be current on those accounts, never late. But if they see all these collection accounts on your credit report, they'll start to get worried, and they'll either close the account or they will reduce or lower your credit limit. Okay. And there are a couple of banks that are notorious for that. Okay. They are notorious for dropping your credit limit and making your credit utilization go up, which makes your credit score go down. It's a whole big thing, you guys. So this is why it is important to look at your credit report. Okay. So you can catch that stuff early. Okay. I also want to say this too. Again, some original creditors won't charge your debt off. They would just have it in-house. Hey, let's see if I can wait it. Certain credit card companies will just keep your debt in-house and collect on that. I've seen that happen too. So that's their way of getting around the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. But original creditors are actually bound by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Okay, so 2 different laws. Okay, and when they do in-house collecting, that means they didn't charge it off yet. It's just kind of sitting there in-house. But what they will do and what collection agencies will do, we're about to go into this too, because I've seen this too. Collection agencies are petty. Okay. They will let a collection account sit dormant. Okay, meaning they're not calling you. Your collection account is just sitting on your credit report. They stop calling. And it might be getting ready to drop off your credit report. It's not really affecting your credit report and credit scores like that. But as soon as you get ready to make a big purchase, like buy a house, buy a car, here they come. They're like that annoying mosquito sitting in the corner. Okay, now bothering you until you get up to move, and then here it comes flying, ready to bite. That's what collection agencies do. Okay, they will strike at the most inopportune time, and you might have fixed your credit, and sometimes they won't even report to your credit report. They'll just kind of let those accounts. They'll hold those accounts, and when they see that you're starting to repair your credit, all these. And collection agencies, just the FYI, they can pull your credit report without your permission. So just the FYI. So they will have the account. They don't have to report that account on your credit report. But they will just sit and watch. They'll monitor your credit report every now and then. Oh yeah, she's paying these bills, or he's paying off debt, repairing their credit, and paying off all these past due debts. Credit score is going up. Good, okay. They just sit and strike. Okay. And you might have over 2 years gone from a 500 to a 700, right? A hard work, you're paying your debts down and working 2 jobs. I mean, these collection agencies will do that. And as soon as they see that mortgage inquiry or that auto loan inquiry, here they come posting their collection account. Boom, your credit score is dropping up 100 points again. Okay. And now you're in the underwriting process, or you're in the process of buying a house. Now you have to fight with the collection agency to get that debt off your credit report. Like that's how petty they are. And that's why I say you have to know the law. Because I'm actually working with a client right now that has gone through that. Like, it withheld their home buying process for a whole year. Because they had pulled their credit report. They got their mortgage scores right. We've been working with this client. Like, they're actually now my longest clients. Everyone else has graduated. But this client, I mean, they were like, oh my God. I was like, that's what they do. They are petty and unscrupulous like that, okay? So that's why I say you have to watch your credit reports like you watch your bank account, so that you can catch that stuff early in the process, okay? We finally got that collection off. It took like some months, and it took a letter to their attorneys general to get that collection off their credit report, but it held up their home buying process. Okay, I think they ended up settling with the collection agency. The collection agency was able to prove the debt. We just went ahead and settled, and it came off because they were like, "Look, I'm trying to buy a house. Now you're holding me up." They knew that. They know that, and they do that to force you to pay. How petty is that? You got to know your rights. You know your rights, okay? You catch that stuff early on, and you know that they're going to do that. You write that letter and like, look, you need to prove that I owe you this money, because now you are affecting my ability to buy a home. Because the mortgage brokers and the underwriters, unless they actually have like a credit repair company and they know the laws, they're just going to tell you to pay that collection account. But that paying a collection account, especially when you're trying to buy a home, buy a car, it's not going to help your credit score. It's just going to show up on your credit report as a paid collection. Okay? And while a paid account looks fine, it's not fine when you're trying to buy a house. It's not fine when you're trying to buy a car, because you're going to get flat out denied most times when you're trying to buy a home. But, if your credit score is especially kind of like in the middle, where it's not super high, like in the 800s, and it drops your score and it's still good. But most clients are like in the 600s. You can't afford $100 credit score drop. Okay. Again, if they can't prove that you owe the debt, then they have to stop collecting on the account. They can't just keep collecting, okay? And usually, if they can't collect on the account, they'll just send you a letter and say, hey, we will stop collection efforts. And sometimes they'll send it back to the original creditor if it's, been like a fresh collection. But if it's been a long time, like 3 or 4 years, they'll just sell the debt to another collection agency. That's what they do, sell and resell, okay? I want to talk a little bit more about the time bar debt. We'll touch on that again. Again, time barred. I'm sorry, these braces. Time barred debt is basically old accounts. Okay, old debts that they're trying to collect on, and they may or may not be able to. Okay, that's basically what it is. And they're usually bought by the junk debt buyers. Okay. And in that case, you just send them a letter, make them prove that you owe the debt. Most of them can't because they don't have most of your information, and that would usually just send them on their way. Okay. And let me see. Trying to see if I missed anything else. As far as collection agencies go, again, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is the law that regulates collection agencies. Know your rights. Know that that is the law that you refer to if you need to escalate, any collection efforts or escalate an issue with the collection agency. Okay. Also your state's attorneys general and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Okay. Those are the three main sources that you can go to, and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. Those are the four resources that you can use if you're having any issues with the collection agencies. There's also another collection agency. The name slipped my mind. I was looking for it on my notes. But there's also like an association that most collection agencies are part of that regulates them as well. And if I find it, I'll post it. But you can also send a complaint to them if they're not being fair, if they are breaking the law. You can also notify that association, okay, because they want to maintain their ability to do business in that particular state if they are registered and if that state requires it. Okay. Some states don't. Also, again, if you get a phone call, do not verify all of your personal information. Okay. If they're calling asking for your social security number, date of birth, think of a collection agency as a stranger because they are. Okay. If I call my next door neighbor who I don't know and ask them for their date of birth and social security number, they're not going to give it to me because they don't know me. And I want you to treat the collection agencies the same way. Don't allow them to intimidate you on the phone and scare you into verifying information to where they can sue you. Because sometimes they'll just go straight to suing you. They don't even give you a chance to validate the debt, especially those two collection agencies that I mentioned, Midland Funding and LVNV. Okay. There are some others, but those are like the two main ones that you see in the courthouses, in the civil courthouses. And also I always use the mail. Always send a letter. Okay. When you send a letter, that is your paper trail. Okay. Send it certified and or return receipt. You want to have proof that you sent communication with them in the event that you have to go to court for whatever reason. Okay. I didn't talk much about lawsuits with the collection agencies because, again, I'm not an attorney. Okay. So when you start getting into lawsuits, that's more the legal side of collection agencies. And I'm always going to refer a client or anyone that, say, hey, I want to sue this collection agency. They keep harassing me and calling me 10 times a day. They call me 6 a.m. You have a right to sue. And I'm not an attorney. Okay. I know the consumer law, but I'm not going to sit up here and pretend I'm an attorney and tell you what to do. Okay. I will always refer you to an attorney if you need to sue a collection agency. Many people have sued collection agencies and they have won. okay, because they knew their rights. Now, some people will sue a collection agency on their own. Some people live to sue these collection agencies. It's like they get a kick out of suing them, and I mean, I'm not mad at them. And I know the courthouses hate to see them coming, but I mean, hey, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the, you know what. But again, if you have a legitimate reason to sue, seek an attorney. Okay, they may, you may be able to get a free consultation, and the attorney may, give you advice as far as what to do. Sometimes you don't need one, but if it's a complicated case, yes, absolutely, refer to an attorney. Okay, and also with medical debt, again, a lot of times it's small debt, like the little pesky copay from your doctor's office, but a lot of times it's not. Okay, a lot of people, medical debt is like the number one reason, and I'll go into that on another live, but it's like the number one reason why people file bankruptcy, because they have like a whole lot of medical debt on their credit report. Okay, I'm talking tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. Okay, so sometimes bankruptcy is like their only choice, because medical debt can be very devastating. And let me tell you something, these collection agencies that try to collect on medical debt, especially for those large amounts, oh my God. I mean, if you have a collection agency calling you while you are dealing with the illness or illness of a loved one, it is very stressful. It is very stressful. They don't care. They just want to get the money. Okay. And I've had some clients, say the collection agency called them about a medical debt and saying, hey, well, can you get a family member or a friend to give you money, or can you get an advance from your job? Like just super uncaring. Like, and so again, I want you to be an informed consumer, and I want you to know your rights when it comes to collection agencies, because yes, they have a place in the financial world, but they are also bound by the law like all the other companies. Okay. And a lot of them will do unlawful things and say unlawful things because they know consumers don't know their rights. Okay. And they know that the consumers will not sue. Okay. They know that they can talk crazy to a lot of these consumers because they will try to intimidate and scare them on the phone, and intimidate and scare them into admitting to the debt and setting up a payment. And that's another thing too. Don't ever set up a payment plan on the phone and give these people your bank account or credit card information. Don't ever do that, okay? Because you have just given strangers your information, your financial information, your personal information. You might as well post all that stuff on a billboard on the highway. Okay? So again, I want you out there watching this, I want you to be an informed consumer. I don't want you to be intimidated on the phone when they call. Don't let them scare you into pain. Okay? If they say, well, we can't talk to you unless you verify the debt. Okay, well, hang up. Okay? You called me. I ain't got to tell you nothing. Okay? Like, who you think you calling and playing on my phone like this? Okay? I need some comments. I'm sorry, y'all. Goodness, I'm talking over now. Y'all know I gotta have my comments. But yeah, don't give them all that information, because sometimes they will charge, or if you give them your bank account or credit card information to set up a payment, y'all, they might agree to settle, for 40% of the amount, and then you give them your information over the phone. Next thing you know, they don't charge a whole amount. Okay? And that's another thing I didn't talk about. I'm glad I brought that up. If they are able to validate the debt and prove that you owe or you settle with them, you better make sure that you get that in writing. You can do this is I'm going to talk about that because I didn't go over. I knew I was missing something. If you decide to settle or pay a collection agency, okay, you better get everything in writing, okay? Because if it's not in writing, it didn't happen, okay? I don't care if they say they recorded the call. It's your word against theirs. Get everything in writing. If they say we're going to remove this debt, which you should be doing, okay, I'm not sending you any money until you send me a letter stating that you're going to remove this account from my credit report once I pay you, okay? Because it serves no purpose for you to pay a collection agency that's still reporting on your credit report. And don't let them tell you, well, we can't remove it. Yes, you can. Just like you put it on there, you can get it off, okay? Alrighty. If they don't want to budge on the amount, if they say that you owe $1,000 that they only paid $2 for, you need to be negotiating. If they can prove you owe the debt and you just want to make them go away, you need to start negotiating. Don't pay that full $1,000. They didn't pay $1,000. So why are you paying $1,000? Okay? Quite frankly, I don't pay them. I already said that I don't pay no collection agency. You about to get this letter though, okay? And when you get my letter, I'm gonna tell you in my letter, don't call me anymore, okay? Don't call me. Don't call anyone you think I know, okay? Because they will do that too. They will call your job. They will call your mama. They'll call your cousin that you used to live with in 97. They will call your sister, your brother, whoever, okay, in effort to reach you. And sometimes they call to be petty, to embarrass you, especially if they call your job. And this is why I tell my clients, it's just a personal preference. I don't put my job on my credit report. I don't put no kind of business on my credit report. Okay, it's not a requirement. Okay, and don't let anybody tell you, oh yeah, you should put your own. No, because it is a way it's just another piece of data for these companies to have to reach you and do whatever with. So you don't have to have your employer on your credit report, okay? Don't make their job easy, okay? If you need to reach me, then you're going to put in some work, okay? So yeah, if you decide to pay a collection agency, you decide to settle with them, then get that in writing. It's called a pay for delete, okay? A pay for deletion letter basically says, once I pay you, you're going to delete this debt. They agree to that. And if they agree to that, you need to get that in writing. Okay. So I think I pretty much touched on, as far as collection agencies, what you need to know, what you need to do. Again, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is the main law that regulates the collection agency. They are a resource that you need to refer to. But if you need to file a complaint, your state's attorneys general, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Federal Trade Commission. So those are 4 resources that you have, and also the courthouse if you need to escalate it. But again, go to an attorney if you need further legal advice as far as with collection agencies, and if you need to sue them, okay, or take legal action against them. If you need to validate the debt, basically say, okay, I need you to prove to me that I owe you money. It is called a debt validation letter, okay? A debt validation letter should ask them, prove to me that I owe you money. I've never done business with you. I do not know who you are. prove to me I owe you money. Always, always, always just verify your name only. Do not give them your personal information, such as your social security number or your date of birth or other personal identifying information. And please do not give them your personal bank account information or your credit card number, okay? If you get sued, I am emphasizing I am not an attorney, but I am telling you, as a certified credit repair agent, do not ignore any mailings from the courthouse, okay? If you get served to go to court, you need to go. Do not ignore that, because they will get a default judgment, and from there they will go hard, even harder in their collection efforts to garnish your check. And you do not want them to garnish your check, because then they will take 25% of your paycheck, okay? So I think I pretty much covered it. We're going to do this again. It's like the beginning of July. So maybe at the end of July, kind of go more into depth about like credit reports, credit scores, what they mean, the whole credit repair process. I actually enjoyed talking about this. I can go on all day about credit collection agencies because I've been dealing with them for a long time. And actually, yeah, they know not to call my phone. I've gotten to the point where, yeah, you gonna call and play on my phone. Yeah, two can play this game, but I'm petty like that too anyway. So, you know, rewatch this live to take notes. If you need to, share this with your friends. If they have any questions about collection agencies, and what to do, okay? Because you can make them go away, okay? You don't have to, and don't let them keep harassing you too, okay? I think I'm going to share my, my debt validation letter. I have a debt validation letter, that you can send. I would probably share that. I may share it tomorrow though. But yeah, I will post a debt validation letter. So if you are getting calls from collection agencies, you can send this letter to them, and before you send any money, which you shouldn't be, you can send this letter to them to ask them to prove that you owe them money, okay? So I hope this live was helpful to you. I need some water now. But yeah, I'll be back probably at the end of the month. I'm going to get that live together, the information. If you have any questions about credit, collection agencies, if you're thinking about filing bankruptcy or whatever pertaining to credit, feel free to message me. Somebody messaged me while I was on this live. I don't know who it is, but I'll check. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys for sending me, the ones who did send me questions. I hope I answered them on this live. And if you have further questions, you know, feel free to message me. If you have my text, you can also text me if you have any questions as well. But you know, I enjoy talking to you guys again. You know, I enjoy talking about credit. I can talk about it all day. Talk about collection agencies all day as well. But I am going to go. It's like almost 8:30 now. And again, we will do this again at the end of July. I will make an event for that, probably maybe next week or something, and just kind of post up to that date. Make sure you share this. You can share this, this live, my live from last week, if you have anybody who has any questions about credit, okay? So I will talk to you guys later. Have a great and safe holiday week. And if you're off Tuesday, great. Just make that a great day and enjoy it. Because you know, this is summertime. I don't get but a couple of holidays off. So alrighty, so I will talk to you guys in a few weeks. And again, thank you for watching. Alrighty.